Hi, Mark here from Safety Options and Personal Defense. I'm here in Indiana, Pennsylvania at the Indiana County Bow and Gun Club to discuss the idea of hot and cold ranges. Now, before I get into what the words hot and cold mean, I want you to understand that these terms come up in basically two types of settings. The first one's going to be a competition, such as IDPA. That happens to be the competition that I compete in from time to time, and that stands for International Defensive Pistol Association. The other setting is going to be when you're taking a class. That could be a firearm safety class, that could be a self-defense class that involves firearms, but some sort of instruction, right, are going to be the two times where you're going to run into hot and cold ranges. The first one, the competitions, are almost always, or I can't even think of one where there'd be a hot range. They're all under the cold range procedures, and what that essentially means is guns are unloaded at all times except when you're up on the firing line, ready to go through and compete, all right, under the direction of a safety officer. It's at that time he'll make sure that nobody's downrange. It'll tell you to go ahead and load and make ready, and that's the only time the ammunition should be in your gun. So, how do we get in the cold range scenario or situation? Well, you notice I have a firearm on me right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this idea of a safe table. Now, I have a sign up here. I don't know if you can read it or how well it's coming up on the video, but it does say safe table, no ammo. All right. On it is a gun rag or case, all right, which is typically where you store your firearm to carry it to and from the range. All right. Behind this table, okay, is a bank of dirt that's 10 feet tall. I know there's a lot of vegetation on it right now, but again, that would be considered a safe direction. So if a gun would happen to go off, it would harmlessly hit that dirt behind there and in no way harm anything or anybody. This is considered again to be a gun handling area, and they will be clearly marked, and upon arriving to the range, you know, you're going to be instructed to go over there and gear up. So what that might look like is something like this. Again, I'm facing in a safe direction. I'm going to take my pistol out of my holster. It's going to go into the bag here. All right. So if I would arrive at the range, okay, I would take this case that I have my firearm in. I would come up. I would have my holster on. Notice that there's no gun in there now. And I would open this case up and make sure which way the muzzle is oriented. And since it's pointing toward the wall or towards the dirt here, I'm going to pick it up, make sure the action is open, make sure that it's unloaded, pointing in a safe direction. It is, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and let that slide go forward. And a lot of competitions will also want the hammer to be down or the striker to be down. That is, that this gun is decocked. This happens to be a Glock 19. The only way to do that is by pulling the trigger, okay? So again, in a safe direction, I'm going to intend to pull the trigger. I check to see it's unloaded. I'm still going to make sure that I'm pointing in that direction. I'm going to let that trigger fall or that striker fall. The gun's going to go in my holster, and it's going to stay there until, again, it's my turn to compete, and I move up to the firing line under the direction of the safety officer, and at that point, he'll tell me to load and make ready. Typically in a competition, I'll go through that stage. I'll be the only one shooting in this particular area or bay. When I'm done shooting, the safety officer again is going to go tell me to take the magazine out, to unload the gun while it's pointing in a safe direction, show that it's clear. Once I show that it's clear, I'm going to go ahead and then place it in my holster, again, all while pointing in a safe direction. Okay, I'll go ahead and go through that procedure under his supervision. He'll then deem the range as safe, and that means that, again, all firearms are unloaded. That way we can go down and fix the targets, do some taping, add up the points, whatever the competition might be. And again, that's generally how a cold range is run. There could also be a cold range run during, again, a beginning class, all right? And people will, again, have guns either in their holsters, all right, while they're receiving the instruction, which is perfectly fine, perfectly safe. We could be moving all around. Notice, again, the two major things where the gun's never pointing in an unsafe direction because it's in my holster, and also there's no way that that trigger can be depressed, okay? But again, the gun's unloaded. The other way a cold range can be run, and I'm going to double this table, is that on the firing line, there's going to be a table set up. On the table is where the guns are going to be kept. This again is downrange, it's a safe direction. Okay, there's a backstop there. I'm still treating this firearm as if it's loaded. I'm going to face in that direction, keep it pointed down in that direction. I'm going to go ahead, make sure the slide's back so that I can see in the chamber that the gun is indeed unloaded, and then that gun's going to remain on the table. Okay, it'll stay there while the instructor is going through the course. And then under their instruction, whenever it's time to start shooting and nobody's downrange, the instructor will tell you to go ahead and go up to the table, and then here you can have your magazines and go ahead and load and make ready and go through whatever drill or instruction the instructor wants you to do. And then when you're done, they'll say, okay, show clear. You'll take the magazine out, unload the gun. Again, keep it in the same state with the slide back and the chamber up so everybody can verify that it's unloaded, and the gun's going to remain pointed in that direction. So those are going to be the two instances of where you're going to run into a cold range. Really, the only time I've ever seen a hot range being run is when there is going to be a self-defense class instructed, and typically it's going to be one for experienced shooters. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my gun back in my holster, and I'll do that again while picking it up while it's pointing in a safe direction. I'm going to go ahead and let the slide go forward. I'm going to face in that direction, gun pointing in that direction the whole time, get it in my holster, and I'm good to go. Now, on a hot range, the difference is there could be ammo either in the chamber with the magazine out, or ammo in the chamber with the magazine inserted, with the ammunition in the magazine as well. All right? It's perfectly safe. It's perfectly safe to walk around this range and receive the instruction. The instructor will be downrange, beyond the firing line. That's fine, because everybody's guns are in the holster. There's no way they could be pointed in an unsafe direction, and there's no way the triggers can be pressed. So as long as the gun stays in the holster and you don't touch it, a hot range is perfectly safe. You'll go through that class, that instructor will present whatever material he's going to be. He'll say, okay, you know, so-and-so up on the line, half of the class, third of the class, whatever it might be. Everybody else back here keeps their guns in their holsters. They'll be up on the firing line. They'll go through the shooting drill or whatever instruction the instructor wants them to do. After they're done shooting, the guns still may be loaded. They're going to go ahead, and if I was done shooting here, again pointing in a safe direction, I was done going through that instruction, the gun's still loaded, goes in my holster, it's still perfectly safe, all right? As long as I don't touch it, all right? So again, that's basically what's going to be the difference between hot and cold ranges. Again, just summarizing, typically a cold range is going to be run during a competition or some instruction. Hot ranges are typically run when you're taking an intermediate to advanced class. Either way, you follow those procedures, follow the direction of the safety officer or the instructor, and always, always, always follow the 4 universal rules of firearm safety. Keep all those in mind. You're always going to have a safe, positive experience. Thanks for checking in today, and remember, always be safe.